Michelle. Are we good to go, Michelle?
Yes.
Okay,
Awesome.
great. Good evening and welcome to the Norwalk Common Council Ad Hoc Affordable Housing Committee meeting for today, Thursday, October 27th, beginning at 6:02 p.m. Like to start the meeting with a roll call. And if you can just acknowledge that you're present. Nicole Ayers. Nicole, are you there? I see you zoomed in, so we'll check her off. Jen McMurray.
Here.
Thank you. Nora Nadelsky-Eichner. I see Nora zoomed in.
Sorry, I'm here. For some reason, I wasn't able to unmute. I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Diana Revolus.
Here.
Thank you. And Greg Burnett. So we have a quorum. Moving on to the next item in the agenda, which is public participation. Do we have anyone from the public that is zoomed in that wishes to speak? I see one hand has gone up, so Michelle, if you can promote them to panelists so they can share. And hello, Nicole.
Hi. Hi. How are you? Wait, I'm trying to put my video on. It's not working for me. Okay.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. You don't need me. Okay.
No, if you can turn on your video, that'd be super great.
Yeah, it's not working for some reason. I'm not sure why. Oh, now it says start my video. Okay, I got it. I got it. Well, I think I have. It's not working, so it's okay. It just won't let me unclick it. I'm not sure why, but I'm not going to hold you long. I did just write a little something, so I'll read it off really quick. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I just had a few points and comments. I was glad that I had the chance to sit in on last month's meeting, as I have expressed probably like 1,000 times now that I had so many notes, and your guest, Michelle of Open Doors, presented and covered pretty much everything that I had wanted to say and so much more. So I was very grateful for that. And basically, just from that meeting, I feel like most of the issues have been identified, and we need to just pretty much outline them, present them, and get ready for, any pushback. I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Burnett, for your time regarding our conversation on this matter, and that I'm all in favor of your idea of a town hall in order to hear from the public, on the housing issues here. Also, during the meeting, Ms. Darlene had made some excellent points as well. She mentioned how our children can't afford to live here, which to me is a tragedy, and that we need to be steadfast against the resistance on this issue if we push forward on this. She also had mentioned clarity on the term affordable. So while doing a little research, I came to an understanding myself of what housing areas we had here. So basically it's market rate, of course, luxury housing. I had mentioned that the platform Sono on Chestnut Street, which is across the street from where I went to Catholic school, is charging $3,200 for a 2-bedroom. Okay. The next affordable units, or basically their workforce, of course, you guys probably already know this, I'm just stating this, is 61% and above the area median income. Traditional affordable housing is when the income falls below 60% of the area median income. And of course, we have subsidized housing, which includes public housing, Section 8, and other government programs for low-income family, seniors, and people with disabilities. I know we were kind of hung up on the term affordable because it seems like workforce affordable and public housing or subsidized housing all fall under affordable, but it's actually different areas. I wish we could call them livability apartments, or true affordable apartments. Also, the point was made that HUD says that one bedroom is about $2,100. I just recently lost my job, and I definitely now qualify for affordable housing. And God forbid if I don't get approved, the new management company where I'm at is trying to raise my rent over $200 per month, which would put me over $2,000 a month for a studio apartment. And to me, that is unacceptable. Okay, and it's just two main goals that I kind of want to see happen if we, at some point could work towards this goal. And one of them is, of course, getting the requirement for developers raised from 10% to 25% of workforce units, or it could also look like 10% workforce units, 15% true affordable units, just to give people, a fair shot at housing. And also, the second thing that I kind of would like to see, if more builds do go up, that Norwalk residents do get some type of preference for any livable or traditional affordable housing in order to promote achievable home ownership. And this, of course, would be so beneficial for Norwalk. So just to close, we're the ones who are the supporters. We are the voters. We want to live and spend our money here. It just seems like the city is pacifying developers and accommodating the newcomers, but ignoring those of us whose loyalty and our roots are here. And again, that is unacceptable to me. So I just wanted to state that I'm all in to move forward, on these housing issues. So please keep me in mind, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nicole, for sharing those thoughts with us. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak? I don't see anyone else. And is there any member of the ad hoc committee that has received any correspondence that should be read in as public comments? Okay, I'll take that as a no. So we'll move on from public participation and go into the next item on the agenda, which is approval of the July 27th meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes? Yes, Council Member Jen McMurray, thank you. Do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes? Okay, hearing and seeing none, all those in favor show by either verbal aye or raise of your hand.
Aye.
Okay, any nays to the minutes or any abstentions?
Abstention. I wasn't here.
The July 27th meeting, you were present.
Was I? Why do
Yes.
feel
I
like
also
wasn't?
abstain.
Oh, my apologies. I thought I wasn't. I don't recall being there.
Okay, yeah, on July 27th meeting, Jen, myself, Nicole, Brian, Nora, Diana, and Darlene.
Okay,
Everyone-
then I approved. I actually read it and
So
I
then,
didn't
I'm
see my
sorry,
own
I
name.
approve. I thought I wasn't there
I
either.
approved.
I
I
approve.
really thought I wasn't there and I read it. I didn't see my own name. Apologies. I really didn't think I was there.
This is
Okay.
the July 27th meeting minutes, so it's unanimous, everyone approves. Now, the next one, the September meeting minutes from September 28th, 2022. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion.
Thank you, Diana Revelous. And any deletions, changes, or additions to the minutes? Okay, hearing, seeing none. All those in favor? And it was myself and Darlene that were in attendance, so I'm assuming everyone else is abstaining.
Abstaining. Abstention. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So we'll move forward with that. Thank you. All right, now we want to move into the discussion related to the affordable housing account ordinance. And we have with us from the Redevelopment Agency, Mark Dillard, who will represent the Redevelopment Agency. I sent out to everyone, hopefully you had a chance to review the draft that includes the recommendations from the Redevelopment Agency. It probably would be best facilitated if we just step through the recommendations from the Redevelopment Agency, give Mark an opportunity to share the thinking behind the changes, and we can comment and just try to quickly move through the document. And let the minutes show that Darlene Young, a member of the committee, joined at 6:12 p.m. Thank you, Darlene. Is that an okay approach with you, Mark, or would you like to approach it a different way?
Yeah, no, that sounds great.
Great. So let me do this. I'll share the screen, my screen, and print up the document, and we can step through it. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. So why don't we start at the beginning? I see that you made a initial comment in terms of changing the wording. Any thinking around the rationale behind that in paragraph 1? Mark, that was a question to you?
Sure. Just 1 second. I'm trying to see the exact change here.
Hopefully everyone can see it on the screen. I'll just, initially we had agreed on the wording, the city of Norwalk recognizes the fundamental necessity of housing for all of its residents. The Redevelopment Agency suggested the wording change to the city of Norwalk recognizes the wide-ranging benefits of adequate housing for all those seeking permanent shelter.
Yeah, I'm looking here at the staff comments, and yeah, that was really just for clarity. There was no big idea behind that proposed change.
Okay. Any members of the ad hoc committee have any comments as it relates to that change? Okay, moving on to the next item. Originally, we had the wording, everyone in the city benefits from having neighborhoods of all income levels. The Redevelopment Agency recommended changing the wording to everyone in the city benefits from sociable neighborhoods regardless of their income levels.
Yeah, same thought behind that, looking at staff comments here, just to kind of broaden the language a little bit.
Okay.
Greg, this is Nora, sorry to interrupt. Are we discussing this now? Are we saying we're accepting their changes if we don't discuss it?
We are discussing it now. Yes, that's the intent to. We have redevelopment on the call. The document was sent out prior to the meeting. So hopefully if anyone had any thoughts as it relates to the recommendations for the redevelopment, now's the opportunity to discuss or share your comment. Yes.
So yes, I want to get back. I prefer the original wording on the first point. And I don't know if there's any clarification you want to make, Mark, about what the clarity issue is there. But the point of a preamble is to be aspirational and I think inclusive. And I'm not, I don't know that all of those seeking permanent shelter doesn't have quite the ring of the belief that everyone in the city is entitled to be housed as a sort of human.
Totally understand. Yeah, I totally understand, Nora. That makes sense. They're just recommendations, but I totally get that point. If you guys want to keep the language, that's obviously up to you. I could just say in general, there's really just sort of 2 points that the changes sort of were geared towards, and that's, you may want to use some of the funding that is derived and put into the new account that's created for home buyer assistance, as well as programs and the like, as well as, creating more affordable housing. And also, you may want to create sort of a, I don't know if there's an existing affordable housing plan, but the committee may want to use some of the funding that comes about to create their own current, up-to-date affordable housing plan for the city. I think you guys and all the work that you're doing, you guys are going to be really well positioned to know exactly where the market is, exactly where it's been the last several years. And I think having a plan that, on paper, that codifies everything that you guys have talked about is a good idea.
Well, the updating of the City of Norwalk Affordable Housing Plan is in process.
Okay. And have you guys been part of that process, or how is that interface?
Just for information, we are procuring a consultant to assist us in that effort. The consultant hopefully will be coming on board shortly, so that work is imminent to begin.
Excellent.
If we look at the next item, and in this particular case, there was virtually an entire paragraph that redevelopment recommended to remove which originally we had, as you see here, a large paragraph that talked about there was a nationwide housing crisis, etc. Any thoughts why this to delete this paragraph?
Again, I think it was just clarity and to be more broad, but I understand the spirit of what you guys are doing. So, if you want to keep that, the staff comments here say it was just rewording to rephrase a few sentences for clarity, readability. And then the other 2 comments, really only 2 sort of major things, were make sure there's a housing plan and consider homebuyer assistance programs and the like with any funding that comes about in this newly created account.
Okay, so there was if I understand correctly, deleting that paragraph, there was nothing in the paragraph itself that the redevelopment agency was felt should not be included.
No.
Okay, very good. That helps. All right, keep moving on here. The comment further, it states home ownership, which several members of the ad hoc committee voiced a strong concern about. Home ownership is widely recognized as an important mechanism by which individuals and families build wealth. I don't see the redevelopment suggesting a deletion of that, but just a comment that home ownership can also be a mechanism by which individuals and families lose wealth. And we realize that's all home ownership is directly related to the economic environment. That can happen at any point.
Yes, absolutely. And was the suggestion to add lose wealth, or what was the original version? I don't have the ordinance in front of me.
Okay. Well, if you look on your screen, you
Oh.
should be able to see it. I have it shared on my screen. The original wording was further, home ownership is widely recognized as an important mechanism by which individuals and families build wealth.
Okay. What was the exact suggested change?
There was no suggested
No, it was
change
just-
from the redevelopment. It was just a
Yeah.
comment that yes, home ownership can also be a mechanism by which individuals and families lose wealth. So we'll just take that as a comment.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
No change.
So what, Greg, so what are you saying about that comment? It's just a comment, or we keeping it?
From the redevelopment agency, they were just making a comment. But
Okay.
what we have, we're going to keep what we have.
Yeah.
We're not including that that comment about it
No.
being negative. Okay,
No,
that's
no.
fine.
No, I don't think a change was recommended. I think it was just some feedback on the comment. It was just a comment.
Okay.
Right. Moving on, originally, the next sentence where it said, it is not, however, a mechanism that has historically been, we had the term equitably available. Redevelopment is changing that to accessible.
Yeah, again, I think it's just clarity. I mean, I think the previous language basically means the same thing. So if you want to go with equitably available, you can. I think it's just a recommendation for clarity, nothing else.
Okay. Any thoughts from the ad hoc committee on whether equitably available versus accessible?
I mean, from my perspective, I think part of what we were really trying to do with the preamble was signal our awareness that this is an issue that has different impacts on different communities and has not been equitably available to everyone. So from my perspective, keeping the equity piece in there is important, but I'm happy to hear other people's perspectives.
So
Because
that, I'm sorry, I'm dry. Can you repeat that, Laura? It was breaking up.
Oh, sorry. I just was saying that from my perspective, a part of the intent of the preamble was really to honor our awareness that, housing has not been equitable historically. And
Right.
so for me, it's important to keep that language in there, but I was saying, I obviously want to hear what everyone else has to say.
Okay. I think it's a weird sentence. I don't know if I like the wording in it, but I kind of agree to be there because it's just kind of acknowledging the obvious, what's going on and how we're addressing it. But I agree with you, but it just sounds a little weird. Maybe if it could be worded a little differently. I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah, I definitely think we can wordsmith things. Would make sense to do that. We want it to sound right to everyone.
yeah, we can even go as far as saying, equitably available and accessible.
Sure.
That's a possibility also.
can you see my hand raised?
I had to stop sharing to see your hand up. Yes, go ahead, Diana.
I'm sorry, you're gonna. I was just gonna say, especially supporting in ownership, that's a big part of me. I think accessible. There's to both of what my colleagues have said, not only speaks to, acknowledgement, but a truth. There's, just of equitable accessibility. I can understand the wording is a little off, but I think it needs to be like accessible,
Okay,
if that makes sense, I think there's a lot of honesty
Is it
in that acknowledgement.
I
I
think
may
we
have
can,
said the wrong word.
I think we can include both and continue. So we can add equitably available and accessible.
Yeah, well, available too. I'm sorry, I got available too.
Yeah.
My bad. Let me change that around. I'm sorry, because the baby in front of me, guys. I love you. Available.
Yeah, it'll read equitably available and accessible.
Just put the argument I had, meaning available. That's all I was saying, like the honesty and available. If that
Okay.
makes sense. Thank
We
you.
got it. I'm trying to move through to kind of the more substantive changes, recommendations, I should say. Let's see. We used the word in the next sentence, Norfolk residents are still impacted by the historical legacy of explicitly racist, housing policies, and what is this word? Pro-covenants. And the recommendation was to change it to private practices and public policies. Any thoughts, Mark, on why changing it to public practices and public policies?
No, I think other than just trying to capture everything public and private that's led to this issue, that was what was behind that suggestion.
Okay, very good. And let me see if I can follow. The rest looks like it's grammatical suggestions. And then at the end of the paragraph, if I can follow this correctly, I can't. I think you've added persist today. Okay, so let's keep moving. Want to really move to this paragraph, which really talks about the use of the funds from the affordable housing account. Here we had the wording, therefore, it establishes the affordable housing account for construction, rehabilitation, repairing, affordable housing, forces the building of climate resistant affordable housing for rent and purchase through the city. The redevelopment agency is suggesting that we add to the definition improving, maintaining, and otherwise providing or administrating or studying the provisions of affordable housing. That's a fairly substantive change. What are the thoughts in terms of reasoning behind adding those additional words?
Yes,
Improving, maintaining?
Sure. That's the piece that really talks towards housing programs, homebuyer assistance programs. It's just broadening it so that it's not only for construction and the like. Once you get the affordable housing stock, you need to make sure you can get folks into those houses. And what we found through some of our programming is assistance, small business assistance programs are helpful in attaining those goals.
Okay, you can see the comments that by adding this additional wording to the use of the affordable housing account, the redevelopment agency is stating that it allows funds to be used for home buyer assistance, such as down payments, closing costs. This changing the wording would also allow for affordable housing plans, affordable housing plans, an ADU guidebook, and other studies to be funded from this account. Any thoughts from the committee as it relates to adding these additional words to the definition? It clearly broadens the use of the fund in some additional areas, improving, maintaining, providing or administrating studies, etc. So let me stop sharing because this is a fairly important part. I see Nora, your hand is up. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So I have a number of questions on this point, and it would be super helpful to get your perspective on, Mark. So if we can start with the question of home buyer assistance, rental assistance, et cetera. I think that I certainly had envisioned this ordinance and the funds that this ordinance creates to be intended to do something that we don't otherwise have options to fund. So for this to be something that is and our original intent really directed at hard costs, because that was our understanding of a place where there are not a lot of other funds readily available to the city. So is there, I mean, my understanding was that there are state programs directed to homeowners assistance, that there are potential federal programs. Are you seeing that there is a greater need for homeowners assistance programs than there is for, say, funds to leverage building new buildings? I mean, this is very much going to be one of those cases where the pie is not huge. And what we're trying to achieve here is really directing it at the most impactful places. So what is the landscape currently like in terms of homeowner assistance programs? We'll start there, and then I'll have questions about some of the other pieces.
Sure. No, and you're exactly right. There are definitely fewer programs that revolve around hard costs and building and the like. But there's also a definite need, even with all the programs that are available for home buyer assistance. The need is strong, and it's underfunded as a whole. But I totally understand and grant your point that doing something different with hard costs and building is definitely needed, no question.
Oh God, I thought I should.
The only, Councilmember Young, did you have a comment?
Give me a moment. I'm
Okay.
turn my phone off.
While she is getting her phone off, I'll ask you the sort of next part of my question, which is just to follow up on what you're saying there. I know it's hard to compare when there's a lot of needs. I know that's hard to say this need is greater than that need. But am I hearing you correctly that there are, even if their programming is still inadequate, we are correct in our understanding that there are more options available right now for assistance programs as opposed to hard costs? I mean, the redevelopment agency probably has a much better sense of kind of what is going to be most advantageous. I mean, if the goal is to have more affordable units in the city, full stop.
Right.
What is the thing that is most going to get us to, what's the biggest gap that we can work on filling here? It's really what I think we'd love your insight on, or I'd love your insight on.
Yeah, no, there are definitely more programs geared towards housing assistance, and that programs that are specifically revolve around hard costs, building, construction, et cetera, there are a few, but there's definitely less of those. There's no question. And one of the reasons, we deal more, we have federal funding sources, state funding sources. They'd like to see the broader language, so that, that opens us up for more funding as we expand what might be available. But if you're going to keep this based just on the, on this one account, and you're going to, pretty strictly define what goes into that account, what qualifies for expenditure out of that account, I get it. I understand. You're trying to see, the need in whole, but now you're looking to see exactly, where can you kind of get your most bang for the buck. And there's not a ton of programs out there for hard costs at the moment.
Thank you. Charlene, are you ready to jump in? Because I've got some follow-up, but I want to let you.
No, thank you. So I have my phone under a pillow. I can't even get to turn it off. I don't know what's going on. So I have concerns with this paragraph, and as Nora stated too, I was hoping that we were looking to support those things that are traditionally not supported, or that folks do have a difficult time with. I am not interested in us spending money on a study from this account as well. I think that was part of it. Did I hear that?
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I think that is not the best use of these funds, and I would not in agreement with that piece of it.
Okay.
And are we expecting this fund to be pretty significant? The amount of money in this, it could be anything. It could be anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000 or $1 million. I mean, because it's very broad what we're talking about, and it seems like the money that's available right now and how it would be funded we don't know what that looks like, right? It could Do we?
I would say that is a fair assessment, that we don't know what the future will bring in terms of how much this this fund will grow to. That is somewhat to be determined. But to keep in mind, also this ordinance is not set in, finite. It's not set in
Mhm.
stone. That if the fund was to grow to some substantial amount, we do have the mechanism to change the ordinance and broaden it to cover areas that we think should be covered. But but initially, to get it off the ground, this is why we're having these
Yeah.
discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not in favor of spending money on a study out of this, out of these funds, particularly, I'm just not.
Okay. Very good. Councilmember Jen McMurray.
I just wanted to emphasize what Councilmember Young said. I understand that studies are needed a lot of times, but I would really like to see this money, whatever amount it is, go directly to the people who need it the most. And I don't think a study does that. So I have a little bit of an issue with that as well. I really think no matter what amount we're looking at, whether it's 10,000 or 100,000 or $1 million, like Darlene said, we don't know what we're going to be dealing with, and we can always add it in if we feel it's necessary. But I really think this needs to go to the people who need it most, and that does not include a study for me.
Great, thank you. I'll share again so we can just, because again, this is a key point. So the wording, initially the wording improving and maintaining. Let me pause to see if there's any reaction from the ad hoc committee as it relates to adding the terms improving, maintaining. I think we're, at least from a committee standpoint, in agreement that including the word studies should not be included, but the thought of adding the words improving and maintaining, let's just touch on that. And Nora, you have your hand up, please.
Thank you so much, Jared. I did have a question about that. So you had said that there is, again, I think part of our hope with these funds are, for instance, that they could be used to leverage our citywide match on a federal grant or a state grant. And so we do want to be thoughtful about your knowledge about the grant process. And so is this the kind of wording that you think is helpful for increasing sort of our ability to use this money as matching funds for some much larger grants? Because again, I want to stress my real objective here is more units, but I do certainly recognize the importance of improving and maintaining units we have. But I'm just, again, I would love some perspective from you on the trade-offs there, and what the value is of adding this language from your perspective.
Sure. So the trade-off there is, again, it broadens it a little bit. It allows you not to do either for existing or new affordable housing units to possibly qualify for monies for facade improvements, building improvements, and the like. So that was what was behind that suggestion.
Does it increase our chances of getting a particular federal grant? And if we're looking for grants that are for building new units, does it matter if we have broader language in there from the federal perspective? I know there often are requirements. So
Our experience is it would be helpful for the grant writing purpose, especially.
Thank you. That's helpful to know.
Sure.
Okay, great. So again, being conscious of the time, I think we're in agreement that this particular piece should read, therefore it is established the affordable housing account for constructing, rehabilitating, improving, maintaining, repairing, or otherwise providing or administering the provisions of affordable housing and fostering the build of climate-resisting affordable housing for rent and for purchase throughout the city. The main word being not in agreement on as it relates to the comments from the redevelopment agency was adding the word studying. So using these funds to create a study of any type, we're not in favor of that. So let me stop sharing to see if we have agreement on that. And I see Nori, you have a comment?
Sorry, I apologize. I also would strike the word administering. I think the goal is for this money to not get sucked into sort of obligations that the city already has, but rather to do something new or different.
I'm sorry, could you just repeat that? You were breaking up. What was the word you said?
I apologize. Administering. I would take that word out as well. I think the goal here is not for this money to be used for existing obligations of the city, which I think administering really implies. This is for something new and different, more. This is, again, my perspective.
Okay, I caught part of that, but I think you said removing the word administrating. Is that correct?
Yes, I apologize for the sound quality. I'll try to see if I can fix it. Yes, is the answer.
Okay, great. Let me pull up the document again. So the two words we're not in favor of moving forward with is administrating or studying as it relates to the definition of the affordable housing account. Okay, let's keep moving on. So it would change again here in the last paragraph, B. We would maintain the words improving, maintaining, repairing, and otherwise providing the provisions of the affordable housing known as affordable housing account. So the words administrating and studying would be removed. Moving on to the next page. It looks like the only addition here is adding the word staff employee. Any reasoning behind that addition?
Again, it's just to give you an option, and that's an either or, depending on the committee's will here.
So it currently reads 2 council members of the Common Council, 1 staff employee. Staff employee meaning what entity?
I believe the zoning department, planning and zoning.
Okay, so 1 staff employee or commissioner of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Okay, got it.
Greg, I have a question. So the first sentence says the mayor shall appoint an affordable housing account committee. Is that the official name, account committee?
Yes, that is correct, because there will be a committee that would essentially review any applications that come in to utilize the funds that are in the affordable housing account. So this committee, and you can see the makeup of the committee, would do the due diligence of reviewing the application, and then they would make a recommendation to the Common Council for disbursement of the funds. So this committee, as outlined here, would be comprised of 2 council members of the Common Council.
Yeah, so I see that.
You got
So,
that? Okay.
yeah, so where it says Affordable Housing Committee, semicolon, the heading, the title of that. So should that be Affordable Housing Account Committee, or so are we talking about
Yes.
2
Oh,
different
yes.
committees?
Oh, great. Yes. Great catch. Yes. I see where you're pointing out to. Yes. It should be Affordable Housing Account Committee, not Affordable Housing Committee. Yes. That's a great catch. Okay. Great. So we'll make that update to be clear. Let's see, we got about 5 minutes remaining, 5 or 10 minutes. So we'll keep moving on to see. Okay, here in item C, except as provided in section as noted, no sums contained in the affordable housing account, including interest and dividends earned, shall be transferred to any other account within the city budget. And it looks like the comment from redevelopment talks to, would this exclude the redevelopment agency from being awarded funds for a revolving loan fund, for example? I would have to say this is to be determined. Unless there's any, I'll stop sharing to see if anyone has any thoughts about that. I am not aware if that would restrict the redevelopment agency from receiving any funding. So
Yeah, I feel like we should maybe check with Darren on that, but that's certainly isn't our intent. And we should double check that it wouldn't also prevent us from, for instance, transferring the funds to, some project of the cities that was aligned with these missions. So I think that's probably a good one. Next, we can pick it up an ordinance if we need to.
So we'll take that as, thank you. We'll take that as a follow-up to find out if the wording needs to change in any way to include the redevelopment agency from receiving funds. So moving along, I think all of the other changes here, we've already discussed those, and I think that covers it. That last item, Brian, is that something you could possibly look into?
You mean about the revolving door thing? Greg, you're talking about that revolving loan thing that redevelopment was talking about?
Right, exactly. Changing the wording to allow for redevelopment to receive funds from the affordable housing account, so they can use it for, and that was one example that they included.
Yeah, so I don't have this copy that you guys were working off of. I'm more than happy to send that question to a couple of the attorneys in the office who might have an opportunity to look at it before either your next meeting or the ordinance committee meeting, whichever one comes first.
So we would not be putting ourselves in a position or even the redevelopment agency of supplanting of funds by doing this sort of thing, right? Because isn't that what the redevelopment agency does, right? You already have a revolving loan program. So you think you can get monies from different places to fund that program, the revolving loan program?
Right, it was just a question one of our board members threw out, and that's why it was included as a comment. I personally don't think it's an issue, but if there's any way to just, clarify that as said earlier, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay. I think we've covered all of the recommended changes from the redevelopment agency. Are there any other thoughts to the ordinance as we've reviewed? Yes, Council.
It's just Brian, Greg. Is this something that you guys want on the next ordinance committee agenda, or has that not been determined yet?
I would say that has not been determined yet. I think tonight's meeting was a big step forward to
Okay.
incorporate the input from the redevelopment agency. I would, and I'm open to any committee members' comments, but I think the next step is to clean up the ordinance based upon tonight's discussion. Get that out to the ad hoc committee members for one final look. And I think through emails, we can get everyone's thoughts on whether it's in the proper wording format to move forward to the ordinance committee without waiting till the next ad hoc committee meeting.
Okay.
So I think that's where we're at right now.
Okay. Yeah, again, if someone can forward me the updated version, I'll send it out and make a request and see if someone can answer your question quickly.
Great. I'll get that to you right away.
Thank you, Greg.
Great. Okay. With that, if there's no other questions or comments, and again, I know there's another meeting that individuals have to go to, so.
So I have one question before you get off.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, and I know I perused through it quickly, and I know we say City of Norwalk, but are we being very intentional to say, if we're supporting home ownership, are we saying we want that to happen in the City of Norwalk, or are we willing to support people moving wherever they need to go if they move out of the city? I know there are programs. I know the Housing Authority has a home ownership program. I think just for people to live or purchase in Norwalk, but there've been, I'm sure with HDF and all those other sorts of programs, people move out of the city. And do we want to be intentional about saying that we hope to have people stay in the City of Norwalk?
Well,
That's just something to think about. I didn't know if that was language we needed to be clear about.
Mm-hmm. I think that by the fact that we're creating an ordinance which is enacted within the boundaries of the City of Norwalk, the intent is for all of the provisions of the ordinance to have an impact within the City of Norwalk. But we can further vet that out. Yes. Okay. At this point, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you so much for your input and have a great rest of your evening. Thank you, Mark, for your assistance.
You're welcome. Thank you. Have a good evening, everybody.
Good
Great.
night.
Thank
Good night.
you.